Hey, welcome back. The franchise answering your great questions. This one is not a question; it's more of a comment. And like I did, on a previous episode, talking about the person calling in to criticize. I'll take the criticism, but also I'd like to read something like this. Shane from Cal Vaughn. I put your 96-99 run against anyone. I know that I'm just a fan, but when discussions come up online, I always feel like it's my duty to keep your spirit alive. I appreciate it, Kyle. I wish there were more original ECW with the music, what is me too, of you online so people could truly see how great you are. Thank you. I don't necessarily agree always because I have greatness to me is like a lot higher. While I may not know you, seem like a good, honorable man. Thank you. I try to. And like any human being, I fail mostly. But I do try, and I teach my boys to live their life by principles, because otherwise you're just a prostitute. You're just hanging in the wind. Oh, the wind's blowing that way today, so I'll be like, no, tomorrow's that way. I so want to, and I watch my boys, young men now. I'm so impressed with them that they're good-hearted people. They're honest. They're knuckleheads like we all were at that age, but I love them desperately, and I want to demonstrate to them how what I consider a man should lead his life. And if you don't have principles, you're just sort of hanging out there. So I appreciate you noticing that, Kyle. So I wish you were, hold on. Definitely be sending questions, more questions as they come up to me. Thank you. We'll keep answering them. But in this email, I just wanted to thank you for your entertainment and for truly seeming like a genuinely good person. My manager probably would disagree with that. He mentions here that Brian Myers is a big fan. Brian is a great guy. When he was trained by Mikey Whipwreck, and Mikey and I go way back, and I love Mikey. He called me and goes, I got this dude, he's your biggest fan. He's a pain in the ass. That's all he talks about is you. And then years later, I met Brian. I consider him a dear friend, and it's really prideful for us to see other generations coming in, becoming very successful in their own right by watching and learning, and this is the way we did it. And when he and Matt Cordona had started the action figure federation or whatever, I was mortified. Because to me, coming from that old school, it seemed like somebody making fun of our business. And then we went to Baltimore and attended one of these. And I came away with a newfound respect because they were bringing people that probably wouldn't have come to the wrestling table because they were big, big fans of the toys and the figures and all of that. And, again, lesson learned. Like even an old horse like me can still learn new things. And Brian's a great guy. He's a great talent. And more than that, he's a great father. And so as a dad, when you see other guys doing it and being that great father, it warms your heart that the world's going to be okay. So appreciate the comments there, Kyle. Let me see if there's anything at the end. Talking about my character tweaked into something that was a throwback as a way to reinvent himself. Actually saw to the days of recreation and everyone using people from the past moves and mannerisms that you haven't been copied as much. I don't know. I see quite a bit of the franchise stuff getting used out there. But remember, it wasn't mine. I borrowed it from somebody before me. According to Kyle, the franchise is a timeless character that works in any era. I don't know that people would have the balls and the intellect to pull it off the way you did. But I'm shocked it isn't tried as much. Anyway, some kind comments here at the end. Thank you, Kyle. Look, the franchise character is exactly the way I was taught. It was, Scott Irwin, early months into the business. Dominic had taken us to Montreal, and his former partner, Dino Bravo, and Rick Martel had a promotion up there. So Dominic took us up to do jobs, just to get experience in front of cameras and get used to that. And I'm in a dressing room with Scott and Bill Irwin. Scott would die a couple years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later of brain cancer. Much bigger than Bill. Bigger, thicker guy. But they wore those big boots up over the knees. And he's over there dressing, and I'm watching him. Bill was not in the room at the time. And I said, hey, mind if I ask you a question? He goes, what? And I said, where'd you guys come up with this gimmick? He goes, gimmick? Kid, this ain't no gimmick. If we weren't wrestling, we'd be in a bar right now stomping a mud hole into somebody. I just completely, just blew off the question, but answered the question by that comment. And then he gave me the really, really solid advice that I've used throughout my career. He said, "Kid, don't try to be original. Everything's been done. We've had cowboys and Indians. We've had dead men coming back to life. We've had mummies and Frankensteins. But find 4, 5, or 6 wrestlers that wrestle like in your style. Take little snippets and throw it into a blender." And then he said this, "And don't forget to add a big heaping dose of yourself." And so if you watch the franchise character, the trained eye out there will see, obviously, there's definitely some flair in there, right? There's definitely Terry Funk in there. There's Brad Armstrong in there. If you haven't had a chance to watch Brad, please look it up and do so. Incredible worker. Barry Windham as a babyface. His selling was the best. Incredible. And the bump taking. Just really, really good babyface. And throw those into the blender, and then every one of you out there has the same thing the franchise has. I just work in a business where I can let my side show. The franchise doesn't have that off switch, that governor. Like, hey, you maybe shouldn't tell your boss to go F himself, right? Because you're probably going to get fired. The franchise says, hell, he'll say it, and goes on. He's completely full of himself. He's great. He's not quite as great as he thinks he is. And in other words, like every other wrestler in the dressing room today, right? I just took it and lasered it down into a point where, it became very clear. And while playing the franchise character, there was never a time in a promo or a match or a spot or a vignette where I thought, if I do this, it'll make me look a little bit cooler and we could probably sell some more t-shirts. Everything I did as a heel, because I was a heel, was predicated to make you, the fans out there watching, want to buy a ticket to see me get my head knocked off. Muhammad Ali, love him or hate him. Everybody has an opinion. I'm a little bit, mortified. The franchise used to throw the F-bomb around, right? That was meant to show a crassness. I had a 10th grade teacher, Mrs. Fatula, and she used to have a hand-stitched, embroidered thing above her blackboard. It said, cussing is the sign of a mental cripple. Vulgarity is the sign of a mental cripple. And so I'm sure she had a few more lessons to teach the franchise today, right? If she watched a few clips. The F-bomb, guys, is meant to be a modifier. You're mad or you're effing mad. One's worse than the other, right? If mom or dad comes home and says, "I am effing mad," that's a lot worse than just being mad. It modifies. It doesn't anymore because everybody throws it into a sentence 5 times. "Hey, I'm going to effing go down to the effing grocery store and get some effing corn." It doesn't modify anything in that sentence. It sounds caricaturish and sort of silly. And I hope the franchise, I'm sure he did in some way where that, 30 years ago, that vulgarity wasn't as prevalent. And now we're starting to see it. And in some small way, I think the franchise sort of cleared that path. But understand what the franchise was doing with that. He was doing with it to augment what an asshole he was. It wasn't meant to be, hey, how damn cool I am. And so it's just a little soapbox thing there for a second. Kyle, I really appreciate the great comments, the kind comments. What I'm hearing so much from fans, last night we were at an event in Bluefield, West Virginia, and fans that are coming to the table are some mix of these comments. "I used to hate your guts. I wanted you to get dumped on your head. Now that I've gotten older, I understand what you're doing. You're my favorite wrestler." Thank you. That means you've taken the time to not just, screw him, he's a jerk. We'll watch the next thing. Dig into it. Figure out what this guy is doing. There is, in a weird, backward sort of way, there is an honor to the franchise that is only found if you sort of dig in and follow the character for a while. And then, of course, as that person said last night, once you understand what the franchise character is doing, that's his job. That's Francine's job, is to get the crowd pissed off, not to sell t-shirts, not to kiss babies or shake hands. That's the babyface's job. Ours is to piss you off. So, again, appreciate the comments, Kyle. I still love doing it, still love being around the business and the boys and the fans. And just want to add this one final thing, and I'll wrap this up. For the fans that want to come up and say thank you for what entertaining us, flip that around the other way. Thank you all for watching. Because if you hadn't watched, that little snot-nosed kid who dreamt of being a wrestler in Pulaski Township, Pennsylvania, could have never imagined seeing the things that I've seen, working with the people I've worked with, learning from the people I've learned from, and having relationships. Dominic was like a second dad to me. I had a great dad, didn't need a second dad, but he was like a very much a father figure to me. And Bruno Sammartino, if you'd have told that kid someday you're going to be working with, learning from, and talking to Bruno Sammartino, I'd have asked you what you were smoking. But that you fans have all afforded that to me. You guys have given me the career that has allowed me to not teach school, which I loved, to not attend medical school, which I would have loved as much. It's been an incredible journey, and as we start to slowly wrap it up in the career, I just want to make sure all of you fans understand how heartfelt it is from me that you guys still come to see us. What a blessing, and very, very much respected and thanked. Love you guys.